opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers or Rogers TV.
Welcome back. Joining me now, we have Anton and Karen Ray, President of the Markham Village City Ratepayers Association. And Karen, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for the invite.
As we've been discussing, you know, should cities be going into business? And the reality is that what bothers me the most about government going into business is they are then competing with private business people. And obviously government, with all of their connections, I mean, nobody's more connected than governments. How is that a level playing field? Just on that principle alone, I don't like to hear of governments going into business, and especially when we know that any employee that's going to be working for this is going to say, oh, it's a government job. So all of a sudden, you know, there's going to be a certain expectation of a better salary, better benefits, and, you know, not that they're not deserving, but they tend to get a much better deal than in the private sector. Are you concerned about the city trying to run a business like this?
I am, and that's been our whole focus point since this was announced back in April. Town of Markham, the City of Markham, should not be in the professional entertainment and sports business. It should be privately owned. There's no benefit to Markham to own this arena whatsoever. It won't be government jobs. The pizzas, the shops, hot dogs, the beer stands, all that money will go to GTA Centre. They won't be hired by the Town of Markham, they'll be hired by the GTA Centre, because GTA is going to be the major tenant for the arena. So it's not the arena itself we're against the financial framework and how it's being paid for.
So why are there no private investors coming forward and saying, you know, get out of the way, we think this is such a great deal, we want to invest? I haven't heard of any, have you?
Well, I don't think there's any private investors coming forward because they've been prohibited from coming forward. The reality of it is, from October of 2010, the town of Markham and Frank Scarpitti, as the mayor, entered into private negotiations with one group, which was at that point in time called York Live, which is now GTA Center. And they are currently still under a confidentiality agreement that lasts until the end of this month.
And what's their reasoning behind this secret?
Well, I think if I'm a businessman on the other side, okay, I want that exclusive access to the town of Markham, okay? What's the reasoning from the town of Markham to do it? I have no idea, because it's bad business practice. At the end of the day, when you're entering into a project that could cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and which in fact will cost hundreds of millions of dollars, you want to access every single opportunity. And in most cases, if you're doing that, you would actually put a request for proposal out there into the public to see who is interested in the project and then solicit competing bids. In this instance, there were no competing bids. There was one bid, which the town has taken and basically run with. And in fact, when we talk about what the town is doing, they're not getting into business, okay? The town is bankrolling a $325 million building, okay? That's all they're doing. They will own the building. They will borrow the money for the building. They will contribute to the costs of the building, which includes the interest costs and the capital costs, and then have an expectation that out of the profits of the building, GTA Center will refund some of that money to the town, or to the city now. If those profits don't exist, the town is entirely 100% on the hook for all of the financing.
Well, I know in the movie industry, a lot of the savvy agents negotiate not on profits, because these companies are very good at hiding their profits. And they tend to have partnerships with all kinds of other companies, and becomes, you know, too complicated for us mere mortals to figure it all out. But what concerns me is the whole lack of information. Have you filed? Can you do Freedom of Information requests?
Yep, I filed an FOI for a copy of the exclusive agreement between GTA Centre and Town of Markham. I got told there wasn't one. I filed a Freedom of Information for the Raymond James report, which cost the taxpayers $287,000. I got told I was not allowed to see it. What's the Raymond James report? That's the background check they did on GTA Centre.
Oh, wow.
And I've been told that I have no access to it.
On what grounds?
They cited 3 pages of municipal act against this and that and the other, and yeah, it's not. And as far as I know, most of the councillors have not seen it either.
So do you feel that the councillors are in the dark, that they're not well informed?
I'd say the majority of councillors have no idea either. They probably know as much as what I do, which is this has been Frank's deal from day one. He went on the John Tory show a couple of weeks back on 1010. and said that him and senior staff, which I'm presuming is Andy Taylor, the CEO of Town of Markham, behind closed doors, private meetings for the past 18 months. Everybody else has been shut out.
So that's very, I don't understand why we're not hearing more of an uprising, because I don't think that this is something that the residents really necessarily understand. And I think what concerns everybody in terms of the whole democratic process is that unfortunately people don't get upset until they open their tax bill and it's gone way up, and then they're told, well, we built this huge building and it's losing money and we have to swallow the costs and we have to continue to maintain it, because obviously we don't want this crumbling building. What can the taxpayers do? What do you want people to do?
We have an online petition that we started. We're also out in Unionville Main Street, Markham Main Street. We go to different conferences or different things that are taking out flyers with information on. A lot of the people don't realize that the taxpayers are going to be on the hook for it. I think we have about 850 signatures total, manually and online. And I think I've spoken to 3 people out of personally speaking to about 500 that have no issue with the arena being built. Put it on my tax bill, I don't care. The other people build it, but not with our money.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people actually wouldn't mind if the city lent part of the money. They think that there'd be a lot of jobs generated, jobs building it, jobs working. What are you hearing that from people? That people would be okay with it? What's the dollar amount that you think that the Markham residents would be comfortable with? Absolute zero, or is there a number?
Absolute zero.
Absolute
Why
zero.
isn't it being put in the paper to be owned by the private sector?
Well, maybe people want to invest in it. I mean, is that
But we're not
unheard of?
getting anything
If it's a
back.
public company and then private investors, everybody can own 1%, or not 1%, but 0.0001%. And if people want to give in $10,000, they're going to get the first lottery to choose season seats when they get an
There's all
NHL
kinds of
team or
ways to
some
finance
incentive.
things. Deal
Yeah.
At this point in time, none of those opportunities have been accessed or even looked at by the town or by the city of Markham now, and that's the problem I think that most of us have at this point in time. The project, as we were explained, originally started off as a private venture that was being proposed by York Live, and somehow morphed into a publicly financed venture where the town was actually on the hook for the full amount of the money by basically going and issuing a debenture publicly and financing the project and being repaid back. Frank speaks publicly about how great the project is. The Conference Board of Canada just talked about the viability of a second franchise in Toronto. Well, that's what private industry should be doing, not financing businesses. It's no different than if the town wanted to finance the next Village Grocer or the next Longo store in town, okay?
Well, Milton is partially funding a velodrome for the Pan Am Games.
An amateur sports facility.
And it's an amateur sports facility, and that's peanuts compared to what this is. And they have so much information on the City of Milton website, disclosing exactly how much they're contributing, which is basically a few $1 million or something. It's not a lot of money, and there's so much disclosure and there's so much public input, and it's disappointing when you can't see that everywhere. But I'm with you, because I'm from Montreal, and I have to tell you that the Olympic Stadium, it's all we heard about for decades, and it cost so much more than what we were told. And the mayor at that time was Drapeau, and somebody put up on Facebook when we were having discussion about the Markham Arena, about that Drapeau's famous line was that this will show a profit. And if it's a loss, it's I could have a baby easier than this showing a loss, or
Exactly.
some funny comment, and we're all still wondering where his baby is. But but basically, what I think he was kind of saying in a subconscious way is that this is his baby. This Olympic Stadium was his baby. It was going to be his gift to the city, to the world, that everybody would look at it and think Drapeau, and he will never be forgotten. He will be immortalized with the Olympic Stadium, and in a way he was, in a kind of negative way. Mirabel Airport is another, white elephant that the taxpayers paid for that didn't make sense to anybody. If we were going to have an international airport, to have it closer to Ottawa or Kingston with, super trains or something like that going between. So is this going to be another white elephant? Is that the real concern here, that it's going to stand there and it's not going to show profit, and the taxpayers, not only are they going to pay to build it, but they're going to pay
to operate.
subsidize it.
Absolutely. And that's the key issue. None of the information that's been disclosed publicly by the town, the mayor, the councillors, in any way, shape, or form indicates that this will be a profitable venture. As recently as last week, one of the partners of GTA Centre publicly stated that without a professional sports team, that this building could not survive.
So that's Live Nation?
Live Nation.
I think his name is Riley O'Connor.
Yeah.
And Riley O'Connor is the head of Live Nation Canada, and Live Nation Canada is essentially the entity which will stream product into the building.
They're like a concert promoter.
They are
right?
a concert. Yeah. They're the one of the top 2 concert promoters in the world. And when he's saying we can't give you enough product to facilitate this building operating on a profitable basis, doesn't that wake up somebody to say, hey, listen, this building should not fly?
Well, I had to give him a lot of credit because he was actually, hurting his own business in a way, because what does he care? It's not his money that's going to build the place, and he'll just, sell as many concert tickets as he possibly can. But, he's a, classy enough guy to say, hey, Markham, wake up. You have to have at least one team, maybe 2, regular tenants to make a go of this.
Well, I think what he's saying basically is that there are enough venues out there right now that whatever profits he wants to make, he can make already in other venues.
Yeah.
Okay? Rather than trying to spread them around to another venue solely to allow that venue to exist. So there are enough venues in the GTA for concerts and for other events, and that includes a number of venues that Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment operates together with others that they don't, like the Powerade Center and the Brampton Arena and others, or the Hershey Center, in Mississauga. Those venues are empty most of the time. So how many nights a year do we believe that there's actually a need for a 20,000 seat building rather than a 5,000 or 6,000 seat building in the town of Markham? Well, there will be that need if there's a professional sports franchise that's an NHL franchise.
Yeah, so the question comes down to, is there a need, or is this Frank's baby? So we're going to be right back after this and find out if Frank's going to have a baby or not. Thanks for watching.